These are my homemade ravioli, stuffed with sausage meat, cheese, and some mushroom, and of course my secret ingredient, which if you watch the video, you'll know what that is. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I'm Judith. Today we are doing ravioli. So we're going to start with the filling. I have a warm pan here. We don't want it too hot because we're not really browning anything as such. We don't want to crisp it up. We just want it softened for the most part. So put in about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. And then we're going to soften half of an onion that's been finely diced. I'm going to sprinkle that with a little bit of salt, just a pinch. And once that starts to get a little translucent, we're going to add 2 garlic cloves, finely minced. And you don't want your garlic or your onions to brown, you just want to soften them. And give that about 15-20 seconds until you can start to smell the garlic. Okay. So the main part of our filling is going to be sausage meat. And I have here some very lovely, locally made Tuscan sausages. They have wonderful seasoning. And you can use any sausage that you like. You can just get plain sausage meat and season it up however you like. But this has, there's no listing on the package of what seasonings they use, but I'm sure there's rosemary, probably some thyme. There is black pepper in it. And something I can't quite identify. We're just going to crumble that into the pan. Now, when I said these were sausages, they do come as sausages. I removed the casing and crumbled them up. So we're just going to let the sausage meat cook a little bit here, sort of brown it a little. Give it some color. Okay, once your sausage meat has browned, you don't need to get it cooked all the way through. Just want to get some color on it, break it up. We're going to pour in about a cup of beef broth. Maybe a tad less, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, well, that's about 3/4 of a cup, so not a full cup. Of course, you can keep the rest of it just in case you want to add more later. Okay, once you get a nice simmer going, it's just starting to bubble now, but I put the lid on and it will boil a lot harder with the lid on because the heat won't be escaping. We're going to let that simmer for about half an hour, and then we are going to add the secret ingredient. So our meat has had about half an hour, 35 minutes to simmer, and it looks lovely. Now, you can see there's still a lot of liquid in there, which is not good for a ravioli filling. I have 4 dried button mushrooms, brown mushrooms, and I've just chopped them up, removed the stems, and we're going to stir them in. And we're going to turn the heat down. And we're going to let those absorb the liquid. And in addition to that, secret ingredient, some black truffle oil. Just maybe a 1/4 teaspoon, several drops. Love truffle oil. So those dried mushrooms will absorb all that liquid. And then we're going to set this to cool. And we're going to add some cheese. So they've had about 10 minutes to soak up the juices, doing pretty well. So what we're doing now is just going to turn off the heat, remove the pan from the heat, because the burner's still going to be hot, but we don't want it boiling anymore, or bubbling at least. And we're going to cover it up and set it aside so it can cool, and they can absorb the rest of the moisture. So our meat mixture is completely cooled, and it has the mushrooms and the meat have absorbed all of the liquid, so it's nice and tender. What we're going to do now is add about 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan, and 1/2 cup of ricotta. I'm going to mix that in and just mash it in there, because you want to kind of mash the meat chunks down too. It's not going to become a paste as such, but it will be close. As we are going to put this in spoonfuls into our pasta to make raviolis. So you want it fairly smooth, but yeah, chunky. Mine's usually pretty chunky. Okay, once that's done, we are going to cover it and put it in the fridge and let it set until I get the pasta made. So now I'm making the pasta, and I'm not gonna make you listen to this thing run. It is 2 cups of bread flour and 3 large eggs. Then we're going to mix it together and let the machine do all the work for the kneading and whatnot, and then wrap it in some saran and let it rest for half an hour. This is our ball of pasta that we just made and wrapped up in saran or whatever cling wrap you have to rest. So now that we have it, we're going to cut it into sort of 4 equal pieces, equal-ish. And I'm going to take one piece at a time. These guys we're going to cover with the saran, or the cling wrap, sorry. Shouldn't be using brand names. And I'm going to have flour on my counter and my cutting board, because this is going to take a lot of space. I want a long, lovely, flat piece of pasta. So, what we're going to do first is kind of flatten it out a little bit. Doesn't have to be beautiful. And then we're going to put it through the pasta roller. So starting at the first setting, the biggest setting, which is 1, we're going to put it in there. We're going to go again. Then we're going to fold it over and go again. And go again. Now you want to do this slowly, because it's working the gluten and it's going to make the pasta more flexible. And of course, because it is attached to the counter here, sometimes you do have to hang on to it or it slides a little bit. And then we change it up, and we're going to put it to actually 2, 3. Make sure it's well floured. And you don't want to move up your spaces too quickly because you are working the gluten to make it more flexible. And if you move too quickly, it's just going to catch and tear. You do want to stop at 7 or 8. You don't want to go all the way to the thinnest because you do want some body to your pasta. You are going to stuff it. You don't want it too thin. So now what we're going to do is take that piece of pasta that we have rolled out and cut it in half, approximately. So right about there. So mark it. And if your pasta does bind while you're trying to roll it out, make sure you're flouring it. We have our pasta sheet we just fill in. Okay, and we have our filling that we made earlier. We want a small dish of water to moisten the edges to make it sure it's sealed. So let's just put that there. And then we want a small spoon to put our filling in. So we're just going to do, like I say, a small spoonful of filling. Because we're doing ravioli, we're not doing burritos. So it's about a teaspoon. I mean, if you want to make them bigger, you could put more in. Then we're just going to take some water and moisten the edges and in between. Okay. I'm going to take the other sheet and lay it over top. Now, of course, you could do this without cutting it and just leave it laying and then flip it over. But I like to kind of have a better judge of where things are going. And then go in between them and try to push out all the air. You don't want to seal a bunch of air into each one. There are a lot of gadgets that you can use to make your ravioli. Things that look like ice cube trays. There's even an attachment for my pasta roller that I've never figured out how to make work properly. But some people seem to think it's wonderful. So to each their own. I prefer to roll out the dough and lay it out and put my teaspoon of filling on it, spaced out well enough that I know I have room to seal my raviolis and cut them free with my lovely little ravioli cutter. And like I say, I have a variety of these, so I can do rectangular, square, round. And you can cut them by hand with just a knife if you don't have a fancy cutter. Just make sure you get the edges sealed really well. Alright, once you have a full tray of raviolis, and yeah, well, I'm one short there, but that will do for now. I put these in the freezer, just on the tray like that, and give them half an hour to an hour, and then bring them out and put them in a freezer bag. Then when you want ravioli, you just open the bag, grab however many you want, and throw them in the pot. Thank you all for watching, and I appreciate everyone that has liked my videos, subscribed, or even just watched. It all helps me so much, and I love to see the numbers climb. Thank you so much, and I will see you again soon with a new video.